In this video I'm going to show you how to install the magazine block to reduce an X macro magazine from 17 rounds to 10 rounds. Inception Defense has these magazine blocks to make it a 10 round magazine and to make it a 15 round magazine. Install method is exactly the same. The only difference is that your 10 round block will actually allow you to put tungsten weights into it in order to bring the weight back up to as if you had a full capacity magazine. The 15 round block is so small that it's only taking a little bit of space and there's no space to put the tungsten weights in. But you're going to take your magazine. This magazine actually has one of our low profile Inception base plates on it already. And since we're in New Jersey, it's already been blocked to be 10 rounds. But the install method is exactly the same with a brand new magazine. You're going to push the pin in the bottom, slide the base plate off, and carefully allow the spring and the plate on the bottom to come out. There would be a black plastic plate on a standard magazine. And when it comes out, it's going to look like this. Probably a little bit dirty, so when you take one of your magazines apart, it's always a good idea. Grab a rag, clean out much of the gunk and the carbon and mess as you can. Maybe even do it with a little CLP. Okay. So you got the magazine disassembled, and then we're going to take a pair of side cutters and you're just going to snip the last piece of the loop over so that we can lock this into the magazine block. Now the benefit of using this type of magazine block system is that you can still disassemble your magazine even though the capacity has been permanently reduced because of the block on the spring. Inside your package you're going to get permanent Loctite, permanent Vibrotite. I'm a big fan of Vibrotite products. This is their permanent high strength thread locker. You're going to get the magazine block itself. As you can see, typically our magazine blocks come in red, but sometimes to make up for anodizing batches, they also come in black or possibly silver. If you want a different color than red, you can post in the comments when you order, and we'll try to accommodate it. If we run out of stock of red, you may get one of the other colors, but typically they'll come in red. And you can see and witness the block through the holes on the magazine, which is nice. So we've got our magazine. We snip off that last little piece of the loop. It'll still function as a full capacity magazine at some point if ever that was a concern. And you get two sets of 2 screws. Now the different types of screws. One set uses an Allen key, 1/8 Allen key, and one set is a one direction screw that you can tighten into place but you cannot undo. Now the combination of using those one-way screws and the permanent red thread locker means that in order to remove this system, well, you can't. You need heat to break the thread lock, and if you're using the one-way screws you have to cut them off or specialized tool, or it's just very difficult to do. So you can't. So that allows it to be a permanent modification for the baits that require that. If you just have to have it as a magazine block, then you can simply use the Allen key and the screws, and you still have to have a tool to make a change on this. So in many ways it's still a permanent modification, but there is a little bit more flexibility if you do that. Again, if you use those screws and you use the red Loctite, you will need heat to get it apart. If ever you want to go back from a blocked magazine to a full capacity magazine, because the laws may be changing, very simply all you'd need is a replacement spring, and then you take the spring with the block away, you put your new spring in with the follower, the original base plate, and you're good to go back to your original capacity. Okay, so how we're going to install this, we're going to take our red permanent Loctite, we're going to take our one-way screws, I'll put the other ones to the side, because I am in New Jersey. Be a permanent modification. Red Loctite on that one. Sorry, red Vibrotite. They're used to calling it Loctite, it's almost like a generic. And also on that one. And then we're going to take our block, and I like to get the screws started. These one-way screws can be a little bit finicky to get into place. Just get the first thread in. We're not going to tighten them down yet. It's always harder to assemble things when you're on camera, trying to make sure the camera can see it, if you're just doing it yourself. Okay. You can take your spring and you're going to make sure that everything matches with the direction of the magazine. And it's important to get the spring the right way around. So it's going to go in, the angle of the bottom of the block is going to match the bottom of the magazine, and then the follower is going to be the correct angle as it goes into the magazine. And you snap it round at the back of the first spring and then snap it over the front spring. The spring is in place. You're going to want to make sure that sits down in the groove. I like to compress the spring just slightly, get in there with a screwdriver, tighten down but not completely the front screw. Tighten down the rear screw. It's a little bit fiddly with it being that one-way screw design. Alright, so that locks it down solidly. I'll make sure my spring is in the groove. Everything's being held where it's supposed to be. Alright, both screws are in and tightened down. Make sure that spring is going to be able to compress. Okay, so that's it. If you want to add tungsten weights, you can add tungsten weights in the bottom of it. And the magazine, the follower goes back in the magazine, the spring goes back in the magazine. Your tungsten weights, you push it down into place. You take your base pad. You can use the stock base pad, or this is one of our aftermarket low profile base pads. And you just snap it into place, and there you go. Capacity limited to 10 rounds. To the magazine you can take apart and clean. You want to take it apart and clean it, you push the pin in, slide the base plate out, out comes all of your internals. So you're fully legal, reduced capacity, still can clean your magazines.